All right, let's dive right into one of the most chilling true crime stories to come out of Istanbul. We're talking about a serial killer who seemed to leave no trace, and the absolutely brilliant police trap that finally put an end to his reign of terror. So picture this. It's the fall of 2005. There's a real tension building in the city because the police have just gotten a call about a really grim discovery on the side of a highway. This right here was the very first sign of a horror that was about to unfold over the next 2 months. On October 5th, first responders arrive at a scene that is just horrific. They find a human body, but it's been burned so badly they can't even tell if it's a man or a woman at first. It really seemed like the killer had managed to erase every single trace of their crime. But, as it turns out, the autopsy would reveal one single crucial clue. So, forensics gets to work and they recover one key piece of evidence. The victim was a young woman, later identified as Begun Tenekesen, and she was killed by a single shot to the head. In fact, the bullet was still lodged inside her skull. But here's the problem. When investigators ran that bullet through their database, nothing. No match. The weapon wasn't in their records. So with no ID and no weapon match, the case hit a dead end almost immediately. Then, just 13 days later, the whole investigation takes a seriously terrifying turn. On October 18th, a 73-year-old woman named Nihal Tezkutaran is found dead in her home. Now, the scene was totally different, but the method, it was chillingly familiar. A single gunshot to the head. The forensic experts pulled the bullet from Nihal's body, and they ran a comparison. The result? A perfect match to the bullet from the first victim. You see, this is possible because of something called a ballistic fingerprint. It's like every gun barrel leaves these tiny, unique scratches on a bullet, just like a human fingerprint. And these two bullets came from the exact same weapon. It was at this moment the police knew for sure they had a serial killer on their hand. But unlike that first crime scene, this time the killer made a mistake, a huge one. They stole Nihal's wallet and her cell phone. Investigators immediately put a trace on that phone, and just a few days later, it pinged. Someone had sold it to a secondhand shop, and the owner had actually recorded the seller's ID. This was it. This was the big break they had been waiting for. The seller's name was Ali Kantarci, a driver. When the police brought him in, he told them this incredibly bizarre story. He claimed a total stranger just gave him the phone on the street for absolutely no reason. Now, the police were under immense pressure to solve this case, and they were not buying it. They arrested Ali, convinced they had their killer. So, with a suspect in custody, it really seemed like the nightmare was finally over. The police, the public, everyone in the city thought the case was closed. But the real killer, well, he was still out there, and he was about to prove just how wrong they all were. On November 11th, another body, Gökçe Şander, was found, killed and burned, just like the first victim. Then, on November 29th, a fourth victim, a trans woman named Murat Taç, who also went by Serenay, was found shot in her car. The ballistics matched all four murders. The city was in a full-blown panic, and the police were absolutely horrified. Their main suspect had been locked up in jail the entire time. This was the terrifying question that investigators were now facing. I mean, did they arrest an innocent man? Was there a second killer out there? A copycat, maybe? Or was Ali Kantarci just some kind of distraction, a pawn in a much deadlier game? They were right back at square one, but now they had a killer who was only getting bolder. That fourth crime scene, though, it finally gave the police something new. As the forensics team was combing through Serenay's car, they found it. A clean, clear fingerprint on an interior door panel that did not belong to the victim. This was the second huge break in the case. The print got a match. A woman named Şule Özbakan, a nurse who had a minor police record. So investigators start digging into her file, and they discover something absolutely stunning. Şule knew the other victims. In fact, she had even been questioned after Nihal Tezkutaran's murder, but the police had dismissed her. Well, suddenly she was their new #1 suspect. The police immediately put Şule under covert surveillance. We're talking watching her home, her work, tapping her phone, listening to every single call. And the surveillance quickly led them to her boyfriend, a man named Osman Bora Çuhacı. So now the operation had two targets. For weeks, they just watched and they waited, hoping for one of them to make a mistake. And the break? It finally came from the most unexpected place you could imagine. A 112 emergency call made by Osman himself. He reported an accidental shooting inside his own apartment. The police, who were listening in on the wiretap, knew this was it. This was their chance to set a trap. And wow, what a plan it was. A detective disguised himself as a paramedic just to get inside the apartment and confirm what was happening. Turns out Shule had been shot in the leg. They took Osman down to the station for a routine statement, but they played it so cool. They offered him tea, they let him smoke, and most importantly, they let him keep his phone. Osman, thinking Shule was just at the hospital and would be released soon, fell right into their trap. Believing he was totally in the clear, Osman sends this text message to Shule, but he didn't know two things. First, Shule was already in police custody, and second, the police were reading his every word in real time. This message was the smoking gun they needed. A team immediately raided the apartment and found the Browning's 7.65mm pistol exactly where the text said it would be. They rushed it to the lab for ballistics testing, and the results came back fast, a perfect match. They had found the weapon used in all 4 murders. So, faced with the gun and that text message, Osman Bora Çuhacı confessed to everything. And his motives, as he explained them, revealed a deeply disturbed and hateful mind. It painted a really grim picture of the man who had terrorized the entire city. He gave a different, twisted justification for every single murder. He claimed his victims were bad people. Begum had supposedly introduced him to drugs. Nihal was exploiting women. He killed Gökçe because he was afraid she would shoot him. And he murdered Serenay because she allegedly mocked him. It was just a series of pathetic excuses for cold-blooded murder. So in the end, what happened to everyone? Osman was sentenced to 4 life sentences, and he later died in prison. Shule was initially convicted as an accomplice, but a higher court overturned that verdict, and she was released after serving 3 years. And Ali Kantarci, the driver who was wrongfully imprisoned for all that time, he was finally and thankfully exonerated. And this really leaves us with one final chilling thought. This was a killer who left almost no forensic trail behind. If it wasn't for that one single fingerprint and the ingenious police trap that followed, how many more lives would have been lost? It's a testament to the fact that sometimes justice really does depend on a single mistake and a team clever enough to exploit it. Thanks for tuning in.